Many Christians consider the book of Romans their favorite book of the Bible, yet most are unaware of one of the main reasons Paul wrote this famous letter. In 49 CE, the Roman Emperor Claudius expelled the Jewish people from Rome. 5 years later, they were allowed back after Claudius died in 54 CE. Before 49 CE, the majority of the fellowships of believers in Jesus were Jewish, meeting in Jewish homes and even in Jewish synagogues. During the 5 years these Jewish believers were expelled from Rome, the demographic of the Roman Church shifted to Gentiles. When the Jewish people were finally allowed back, there was great animosity between the Gentile Christians and the Jewish believers in Jesus. Paul wrote the letter to the Roman Church in 57 CE in large part to deal with the fallout of disunity between Gentile and Jewish Roman believers in Jesus. This is why Paul focused so much on Israel in the book of Romans. Why had the Gentiles begun to wade into anti-Jewish thinking in the 5 short years the Jewish believers were absent from them? First, Judaism was a legally sanctioned religion by the Roman Empire. The Jewish leaders heavily policed Jewish life in an effort to maintain a peaceful status quo with Rome. Believers in Jesus held strongly to a Jesus is Lord statement, which challenged the authority of Caesar. Since most of the first believers in Jesus were Jewish, the Jewish leaders were the first line of public discipline for bold followers of Jesus, often getting beaten and reproved in the synagogues themselves. Gentile Christians, therefore, desired a disassociation with the periodic synagogue beatings and the connection to Jewish communal authority. Second, from 66 CE onward, the uprising of zealous Jewish freedom fighters against Rome increased. As Roman repression grew more and more frequent, the burden to finance such military actions fell to taxpayers, who began to resent and loathe the Jewish citizens of the Roman Empire, whose rebellious actions caused them less and less income. The Gentile Christians again sought to disassociate with the Jewish community because of this stigma. Third, Gentile Christians were largely embedded in the Jewish community and were therefore labeled along with the Jewish community as prudes or unsociable because of their fervent refusal to participate in socially idolatrous and pagan festivities in the empire. Separating out from the Jewish traditions gave Gentile Christians more social status flexibility. Lastly, as Gentiles witnessed to pagan groups across the Roman Empire, they were constantly met with arguments like, how can you expect us to embrace Jesus as the Jewish Messiah and Lord of Lords when the Jewish people themselves have refused to believe this claim? The destruction of the temple in 70 CE and the later massacre of hundreds of thousands of Jewish people in the Bar Kokhba revolt of 135 CE were interpreted by the growing Gentile majority of God's judgment against Israel in favor of the Gentiles. If only the Roman Church would have held more closely to Paul's words in Romans 11:11. Did Israel stumble and fall beyond recovery? Of course not. They were disobedient, so God made salvation available to the Gentiles. But he wanted his own people to become jealous and claim it for themselves. 2,000 years later, we have an opportunity to steward the vision Paul delivered to the Roman Church, to embrace our Jewish brothers and sisters in Messiah, and do our part to cause a jealous longing in the hearts of Jewish people for their God and their Messiah, Jesus.